Hello and welcome to Big Bang Radio Spotlights. This is the show where we talk to independent artists from all around the world all about their music and their process for making it. I'm your host, Isaac Anderson, and today I got to sit down with the rock band Positive Chaos. Without any further ado, here's the interview. Real quick, before we kind of get into your music, I wanted to ask you each, what is your first musical memory? Like either listening to music or playing music?
Ooh. All right. Well, I think my first musical memory, or like playing music specifically, when I was a little kid, I remember going to Best Buy with my dad. He really liked Best Buy for some reason, and I remember I was like maybe 4 or 5 years old, and I used to always just hang out in the section with the keyboards and just mess around. And then one day he just saw me and saw that I was having so much fun that we walked out of the store with a keyboard, and that keyboard's is now sitting like right over there next to Dave, and like it just snowballed from there. So that's probably the first thing I remember.
Mine would be seeing Weird Al Yankovic when I was like 7 or 8 in Connecticut, and just remembering Like a Surgeon, and he's just twirling a chainsaw around as he's singing. I don't know how it connects to what I'm doing now, but that is my earliest.
Weird Al Yankovic is part of all of us, man. Come on, like that's a great moment.
Heck yeah. Growing up, my parents were big Charlie Daniels fans, so we saw Charlie Daniels a bunch of times when I was a kid. And I think my first musical memory was going to one of those shows. And he had a ton of guest stars on stage, and Marshall Tucker was there, and like the whole thing of just like this, like they built this like giant family on stage and just made this cacophony of sound. And I was just like, yeah, I want to do that. That sounds awesome.
That's awesome. And I could definitely hear a lot of those. I don't know about Weird Al Yankovic in your music, but I could definitely hear that a little bit of Charlie Daniels in there, even though you guys would definitely have that kind of really 90s sound, like that's a really powerful, a lot of the distorted guitars. But there's some Charlie Daniels in there, I think, especially in your songwriting, Dave. But how did you guys all meet each other, by the way? Were you friends before this? Or did you specifically get together to form a band? I don't know. It's different for everybody.
Oh yeah, no, we started in 2005. Our guitarist and bassist, who are actually doing their own things today. One of them's like essential, so he's working, and the other one's back up in Connecticut getting his stuff done. We met and just kind of started jamming and playing around, and then we added these guys kind of later on. And we were all buddies beforehand, and we just liked playing music and jamming together. So that's kind of how it all fell together.
Like whose idea was the band? Like, was it just kind of collective, or like was it one person was like, we need to do this?
At this point, I was playing with other groups, and I just wanted to try. Actually, all I wanted to do was play the drums for somebody. So I got together with Brett, and we started playing. But then it kind of morphed into something else. And then when we came down here for college, we went to FIT, and we added Pat as our drummer, and I kind of shifted to guitar. And then we added Pre in 2014, but Pat and I have been buddies since we were babies, so we've just been friends a long time, and added this one.
Yeah, I'm the most latest addition. I just heard about some band in college and decided to go meet these guys and jam out with them, and I'm the latest addition to the band, I guess.
Married the singer
and whatnot.
Oh, it was cute. What can I say?
Anybody that watches the show knows I'm a big fan of local music scenes. Here in Raleigh, North Carolina, the music scene's very prevalent. I love it to death. I've always been interested in bands up here, but you guys are in Florida. I believe it's Melbourne you guys are in?
Yes, sir.
Yep.
So how was the music scene in Melbourne, and like how do you think that the music scene like locally has affected your sound and career?
Oh man, it's exploded down here. From when we first got down here in 2006, there were a couple other bands, but there wasn't a scene. But what it is now is it's totally different. Like it's a blast.
Yeah.
Like these,
we had a massive local music fest at the tail end of last year, and it was 60 local bands, 3,000 attendees, and just for our sound, we were exposed to a lot of different genres now that we weren't really exposed to before. There's a great variety around here. There's metal guys, there's folk guys, there's punk, and we will play with them, some of these bands, multiple times a year, and you get to hear them, and you chat with them, and you share ideas, and sometimes you can collaborate with them. So I think that's certainly been an impact especially recent years.
For sure.
So, kind of next, what I wanted to ask you guys is, what's a day like for the guys in Positive Chaos? And you can kind of say like what a show day is for you guys, maybe like a rehearsal day, or maybe like when you go on tour. I don't know. Anything really goes for this. I want to know.
Cool. You want to start us up?
Oh, well, like a show day?
Yeah.
All right. Well, we play most of our shows on Fridays, Saturdays, so we pretend to be engineers mostly during the week, engineers and a teacher. So usually how our show days go is we go to work, and then at about 4 o'clock we all run away screaming from our jobs, and we come to our house and we load up the band van if we didn't the night before, and we celebrate and go out for our show. And Dave, what do we do after that? I don't even know.
After that, it's usually we just come home and pass out. But a typical day in the studio generally starts with coffee. We'll go and see Ant and Stu. We'll drink more coffee. Then we'll turn everything on. We'll play for like 10 minutes. Then we'll go and get coffee. And then we'll come back. We'll try to get some tracks down. Go get coffee.
And eventually I'll be left with one of the producers to play drums for 7 to 8 straight hours while everyone's getting coffee. And I'm on take 87.
So next, obviously you guys have a pretty big catalog. You guys got a couple albums out right now, but this is very different for everybody and in the bands, and I'm always interested to hear what they're going to say. What is your favorite song to play live?
Oof.
Ooh.
We got a song called Saturday Night that's my favorite because most nights we play it, I get to do an extended drum solo towards the end of the song. So I get to have my moment just to shine or not shine depending on the night. And but that's my favorite, upbeat, high tempo. It's actually not on our most recent album, but it's on our last release, which was an EP, 5 years ago?
Yeah, something like that.
That's my favorite, Saturday Night.
What about you?
Nice. I have to say, mine's probably Asphalt Mirage. That was our second single off of the new record. And I just love it because it's kind of out of character for us. And like, we usually play it after a couple of moodier songs, and then we come in just ripping. And it just got so much energy that people, you can feel it from everybody too. And for the people who actually listen to the lyrics and stuff, it's an interesting story. And it's probably my favorite to play live.
Mine is probably Static. It's our third single?
Yeah, it's not been released.
That's right. That's right. We haven't done it.
It's only on the album at the moment.
And that's probably my favorite. It's just fast, and then it's got this breakdown that kind of goes into this harmonic minor sort of tone, and we get to jump around like idiots on stage during it. That's all I like to do when I'm up there, is just make a fool out of myself. So that's probably my favorite.
That's a good thing about being up front, is you get to kind of act up and everything. Drummer has to sit down, but occasionally, we can all have their moments in the band and everything. But
he acts up back there too.
Oh yeah, he's always screwing around back there.
It's all good. And that kind of leads in what I was going to ask you guys next, because you guys play a killer live set. If anybody's ever seen you live, I've never personally seen you live, but kind of doing a little research on this, seems like you guys have a lot of fun. You have a lot of energy on stage. What is one of your most memorable shows? This could either be good or bad. It's most likely going to be good, but.
Pat goes first on this one.
Okay.
One of the most memorable shows. We opened maybe when I was back in college, or maybe it was 2012 or so. Our college hosted a spring break concert, and we opened for the Mighty Mighty Bosstones.
Oh,
and so,
man.
being able to open for them was pretty awesome. And there was hundreds of people, and they're from our college, so they knew us, and that was a lot of fun. That was a while ago, but it certainly sticks out for me as being one of those moments that I'm like, that was cool. That was really awesome.
I think for me, there's a bunch of them up there, but I think one of my favorite shows was it was a whole weekend of shows, to be fair. We played a Friday night, a Saturday night, and a Sunday morning on the west coast of Florida. We started on the west coast of Florida. We played Sarasota at Growlers. And that was just a chill, awesome night. And we stayed out there in Cape Coral at Rackham Billiards, which is an awesome venue. It's just a bunch of people playing pool, and they've got like a really great rock scene out in the West Coast. So that was awesome. And we got off stage at maybe at 2:00 in the morning, wrapped up at 3:00, and then we drove 3.5 hours back to Melbourne to set up and start playing for a marathon gig at 5:30 in the morning at Mel Beach. And it was awesome.
That might be one of my favorite weekends we've ever played. That was ridiculous.
Ton of fun.
I repressed that weekend. Thanks for bringing it back up.
One of my favorite shows was the Space Coast Music Festival. So our little scene put together this great festival, and we get on stage, and the place it's at capacity, and the capacity is not what we were hoping it would be. So there's not a ton of people kicking around, but they're not letting anybody in. We're watching our friends stand at the door, and our road bassist is going crazy, and he gets kicked out.
Oh gosh.
And they start a mosh pit on the floor, and we ended up destroying their sound system accidentally, but like it just sounded awful, and it was an absolute nightmare of a show, but one of the most fun things.
Marshal was like,
the fire marshal had to show up and kick people out. Like it was unreal, and it was just so much fun, and it reminded me of being like an 18-year-old kid again, playing where you're not supposed to be playing.
It really was. The chaos wasn't really our fault.
We were just a band there for it.
There are other bands that actually made it happen. Trevor helped the chaos, I guess.
Yes,
so,
for sure.
He definitely embodies the positive chaos spirit.
Yeah, I had to say that. It's like you said chaos. I'm like, well, it sounds like it was positive because it paid off. I mean, even though it wasn't your fault, like it's still a fun story to tell. I think we should probably hop into some of the music that you have out right now. And so your first album, I believe that's Labco Arbiter. It's a concept album, and it's kind of like about a guy. He suffers something like a really big loss, and he's going out for his revenge. What was the process of recording that like, and maybe crafting those songs? Did you go in knowing it was going to be a concept album, or did you string it together during the recording and saying, oh, well, there's a narrative here?
We had a couple of the tracks that. So like Regret, we had recorded a few years earlier, and then it ended up finding its way onto the concept record. But we knew going in that was going to be a full story. We're big Coheed and Cambria fans, so it kind of started from like, wow, you can use music to tell a story. And the goal is to eventually have it done into a comic book. But when we went into that record, we decided to really double down and like really dive into a story and kind of come up with something. We ended up recording it out in New York City with one of our buddies, Captain Hits.
Firehouse Records, or Firehouse Recordings.
Yeah, Firehouse Recordings. And they ran with it, man. He's a great producer, and we had a lot of fun just kind of like living the New York City life for a couple days at a time, and that was a lot of fun. It was a cool record.
A lot of learning too. We did a lot of learning going through that.
It's true. We went from making these basement style recordings to being like, hey, no, like you're offbeat here by 1,000th of a second, do it again. You're just like, okay, like let's tighten this up a little more. And it was an eye-opening experience going from that sort of garage jam tracks to playing in an actual studio.
And realizing that you have to kind of level up your skills while you're going through it. And so that for me as a drummer, I did a lot of going through that process and understanding that where I wanted to be wasn't where I was. And so I think going through that process, though, really was important for me, looking ahead to the other albums to know what I had to get better at in order to sound what I wanted to sound like.
So later on, I know that was kind of like, the first one that you guys put out together, but later on you work with a producer named Stu Richardson. And for people that don't know Stu Richardson, can you please tell everybody who Stu Richardson is?
So Stu is the bassist. He's a bassist professionally. He's from Wales. Did some touring with Thursday. He's their current touring bassist.
Devotion is his name.
Yeah, he's in a project called No Devotion right now. He's the pretty much the driving force behind that. Him and Jeff Rickley from Thursday are the driving forces behind that, songwriting wise. He does a lot of production. He's learned a ton from Eric Valentine. So he's big into the producing thing. Like he's a great producer. He's super down to earth. He was in a band that we grew up listening to. called Lost Prophets. So we followed them on, what was it, Instagram or one of the social media sites. And our bassist, Chris, sent me a text. He's like, "Hey, is Stu moving to your town?" And I was like, "Nah, man, he's from Wales. Like, there's no way he's going to be moving down here." So I looked it up.
The other Melbourne.
Yeah, I assumed it was Australia or something. I don't know, Queen countries, you know. But turns out it was our Melbourne, and his family lives down here now. So he was opening a studio, and we decided to reach out to him, see if he wanted to do a couple tracks with us, and it morphed into this record, and now we're already planning on going back and doing the second half, and we love working with the guy. Him and Anthony run a great studio. Like the sound is unbelievable. It's low pressure. It's Rocky Water Studios. It's just a great place to hang out.
That's awesome. That's awesome, guys. And the album sounds great. You guys did a great job on it, and it's a super cool story about how you. I actually didn't know how you ran up with Stu, so that's really awesome. So maybe he'll see this. So hi, Stu, big fan. So you have some songs to play for us right now. I believe you're going to be playing 2 for us, correct?
Yeah, we're going to actually do 2 off the record. We're going to do a song that's extremely fitting for today. The song is called "You're Diseased."
Well, heard that. Well, everybody, this is "Your Disease" by Positive Chaos.
Yeah. 2, 3. Well, some of us were meant to be admired, and some of us were meant to be adored, and some of us were better left inspired, and some of us are better left ignored. So when you see us, look away, but just know that we're here to stay. We are the unwashed, the unclean, the bad news, the jury, the selfish, the sickness that we read to feel clean. We are your disease. Most of us, we think we're not the problem, and we just assume to blame ourselves. And I know that we can't be the one to even dare to solve them. 'Cause deep down, we know that it must be someone else. So if you look around, yeah, it's true, that there's no fools down there, it's you. We are the unwashed, the unclean, the bad news, the jury, the helpless, the foolish, the boorish, the charming. We are the least exclusive club that's ever born. You better remember since the day that you were born. Now baby, it's bad luck, the right place, but the wrong time. You recall when red lions fought at the scene of the crime.
awesome. Dave, you got a powerhouse of a voice, man. And you just casually pick up the little T after that. Like, thanks. Like,
gotta keep the pipes hydrated.
That was great, guys. So what is the next song you guys are going to be performing for us?
The next track is actually the first single, or the second. No, the
They're
track
not
is Static. I'm sorry, it's my first day. This song is called Static. This will be the next one that we release.
Yeah.
It's on the record, but we're going to do like the promotional.
Extra promotion.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Custom artwork.
So is this going to be the first time that anybody's heard this like over the airwaves like this, or?
Yeah. This will be the first time that we haven't even really started sending out the records yet. So thanks to the virus here, so this might be the first time a lot of people hear it. But,
okay. Well, we are honored. So here's Static by Positive Chaos.
Sweet. It's another state of mind. Immersion at a science. You try, but you're still young. You can't disappear. Now you've gotten comfortable. You haven't seen the world. It may change, but you won't. You're the status quo. Still for so long, the shadows laugh the same. Feel the new flesh, your skin, your scars remain the same way forever. And if you blink, then you will be reborn. Someday, soon and forever. We'll find a better place to ride. Just look inside. The canopy, familiar and dry. She'll survive. Now lightning doesn't judge, and thunder doesn't smite. And while we still object, call it parasites. No, the side again is not one. It'll never chase the impending storm. Just look inside. This is so. And you know you can't go on. You can't go all the way. We'll go, and it's gone, and it's gone. So what's it like to fight the rain? Did you feel the boundary layer? The surface for the moss to grow? Did you even feel it there? Did you feel one from there?
Whew. Caught my speakers on fire in here, guys. Goodness. That was awesome. Free, that was I especially loved your the violin lick at the very end. It's like it's very kind of like it's super cool. Gave me chills. I loved it. Great job, guys, and thank you so much for playing both of those. So at the time of recording this, we have this whole coronavirus thing going on. Everybody's kind of stuck inside. I don't know if you guys had to cancel shows or not, but it's a big bummer for pretty much all the bands that I've talked to recently that they've had to cancel all their shows, all their tours, all pretty much getting out of the house. But what is next for Positive Chaos? Once the stuff ends, or what do you have planned now? I know you said your new album, like you were about to ship those things out. I don't know. What do you got coming up?
Yeah, so we're going to be focusing. So I guess with this the virus thing, it did definitely cause us. We were going to do a tour this June, but
a release party.
Yeah, botched up our release party too. That was that's right. Those things tomorrow.
Yeah.
But instead we're going to kind of regroup and just go back into the studio, get ready to start writing again, and rather than push out for the live stuff, we're going to double down and start preparing for another record. So at least when the time comes that we do start making money playing shows and stuff, we have the backlog of songs to go back into the studio and get those ready.
Yeah, this album is actually like supposed to be a two-parter, so we actually have like half of the next album already laid down with the studio.
Should we put one of the CDs up so they can see?
Oh yeah,
we should advertise
Yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah.
We're terrible at advertising.
Oh, here, this one.
So yeah, this is the record right here.
Oh, you even signed it. Awesome. That's so cool.
Yeah, dude. Hey, send us your address. We'll shoot you a copy.
I most certainly will. I'll put it up here right in my studio, or once our radio station opens back up, I'll definitely put it up there for us. But thank you guys so much for talking to us, performing. It's been a pleasure talking to you guys. You guys are super cool, super down to earth. If people want to keep up with you guys, how can people find you?
I'd say our Facebook page, Positive Chaos, band page is probably our first and foremost place, but we have our own website that's also frequently updated and it's up to date with everything. So positivechaos.com or facebook.com/positivechaos. We have a Twitter, we have an Instagram.
Yeah, our Facebook is like.
Is there a MySpace?
We do not have a
MySpace. We don't have a MySpace, I'm being told. But virtually everywhere else. But if you Google Positive Chaos, we'll be on the top links, and our music's there. We're on YouTube for YouTube Music, iTunes, Spotify.
Yeah. Spotify, all those things.
Yep. So virtually any way that you wanted to find us digitally, you can find us.
Yep.
Google us, Positive Chaos, on Facebook, or just positivecast.com. Any of those will get you to us.
Sounds great, guys. And I'm going to tag you in something on Instagram when you guys were performing Static. I wanted to make sure I got the handle right, too. So,
Sweet.
So again, thank you guys so much. Before we go, I ask all my guests before I leave. I'm a big movie guy. I'm a musician too, but I love movies. I do a show at the station called Big Bang Cinema with a good friend of mine, Tyler Keene. And I love music and I love film. I think they're not too far away from each other, not too many worlds away from each other. And I feel like other musicians also feel that same way. So before we leave today, I wanted to ask each of you, what is your favorite movie?
Oh boy. It's like we actually made a list of like our top 50 favorite movies the other night because we were so bored and didn't know what to do. But I mean Star Wars and all of the Star Wars movies are my favorite.
Okay.
Mine's actually an old school. It's a movie called Patton.
I know
from the
Patton,
70s about the U.S. general from World War II. Amazing film. So it's usually one of my go-tos. It's probably my number one ever.
Mine's not as deep. I like The Sandlot. I'm a big baseball fan, so that's my favorite movie.
Thanks to Positive Chaos for sitting down with me and talking all about their music. If you guys want to see more interviews just like this, you can go to facebook.com/Studio67NCC, youtube.com/NashComCollege, or you can find us on Instagram at Studio67NCC. Thank you all for watching. I'm Isaac Anderson, and until next time, stay lovely.